Welcome to the Dream Big series. Today our guest is Peyton Marek. Peyton is originally from Kansas City and is the daughter of Mark Marek, who was a recent guest of ours on the Dream Big series. Peyton is an independent artist manager of the band The Greeting Committee, signed to Harvest Records and an independent subsidiary of Capitol Records. Peyton also serves as their tour manager, as well as she co-engineered and co-produced their first EP. Peyton began managing the Greeting Committee at 18 years old, and we have all heard the stories that the record labels just don't grab groups and pull them up to success anymore. Well, there is an exception, and this is it. Welcome to the Dream Big series, Peyton Marek. Welcome to the Dream Big series, and today we have Peyton Marek. And Peyton is originally from the Kansas City area. She's out in California right now. And I tell you, I'm really been excited about this interview. We kept getting it delayed for one reason or another, and here we finally are. We're both stuck at home in separate states, and we have nothing but time, right, Peyton?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So Peyton's story is you're going to love this story. But I will tell you that our training program for bands, we've been saying for quite a while that what has happened with Peyton and the band she manages doesn't happen anymore. But obviously it does, because she's got a story of exactly the opposite. And I'm going to start that again. And obviously it does, because Peyton's story of managing the Greeting Committee is exactly what we call the fairy tale story, especially if you grew up when I did, when that's all we pictured. We pictured a tour bus showing up at our doorstep, us climbing on it, and we'd go on tour and we'd ride off into the music history. And so Peyton, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm so excited to be on. Tell me a little bit more, just so I know, about what you do and how you help artists and musicians.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few things going on. We have an entertainment agency here in town. We book about 100 bands and a bunch of, we represent the cities here in town. We represent some shopping centers. We book the Plaza Art Fair and whatnot.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I've been playing now for about 30 years myself.
Yeah.
And then my brother and I just recently released this training program teaching bands how to make more money as a band independently, which is what I was talking about with the deal before.
Yes.
And then there's a podcast, which you're on here.
Yeah.
And we got a few other things going on, but we can kind of leave it at that for now. So
for sure. That's awesome. I like all your guitars behind you as well.
Yes, it's very distracting.
Yeah, I know, it's cool. I like it. Do you have a favorite out of all of those? I don't know if
I do. Yeah. There's a local guy here named Quentin that he just started building guitars a while back. It's
nice.
Q string instruments. And,
sure.
Q
string instruments. Cool.
It's right here.
Oh, nice. I love boutique made guitars. Although I don't play myself, even though my dad is a guitar teacher, but and you interviewed him as well.
Yeah,
I'm 100% behind the scenes. I don't like to be on stages, and this stuff is I'm so flattered that you're having me on. This stuff kind of freaks me out. I'm always I'm always planning these kinds of things for my artists to do, press or performances or whatever, everything that goes into being an artist, not just the music. And so it's interesting. Me doing these and you read more articles now that are more industry based with managers and agents and talent buyers, lighting directors. I just read this amazing article that Billboard just put out in their recent issue about how coronavirus is drastically changing the industry in so many different spectrums. And it's cool to get the behind the scenes perspective, not just the artists, although most important, but the behind the scenes, the people who are talent buying and giving artists the guarantees and et cetera. The list goes on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you've got a fascinating story. And
thank you.
I've had the unique perspective of hearing it from your dad first.
Yeah. Oh.
And from what I understand, the stories line up, so that's cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he was a huge part of it, and my mom as well.
So can you take me back a little bit? Because from his perspective,
Mm-hmm.
at least how I remember it, he goes, yeah, just one day Peyton came home and said she was managing this band. I mean, is that how it went
That's
down?
very, yeah, it's true. So I started out, I can give a sort of nutshell overview of how I started with greeting committee. I went to high school with all four of them, and it's so ironic, and we joke about this all the time, because I originally went to a different high school, and I was on the cheerleading team. I mean, I've done like a complete 360 of what I do now, from being on the cheer team. But I was on this cheerleading team outside of school, and all of my friends on the team, they all went to this school that I wanted to transfer to. So after one semester of my freshman year, I transferred to Blue Valley High School, where all of the greeting committee went. And thank God I did, because I met all of them just sort of organically through going to shows. I think I met Addie, the lead singer, through friends, but really in person one time. We were actually waiting in line at the Midland for a Young the Giant concert. So I remember meeting her through that. But yeah, she was like, we heard you wanted to be a producer, which is what I originally wanted to do. I wanted to produce and audio engineer, and we got all this recording equipment in my basement one day because my parents have this band and they've been in the live music scene for years and years, and it's really cool. They've been able to make a living out of it, which is really hard, going back to your original intro of how it's so hard to make a living as an artist. It's so great that you and your brother are kind of grabbing this and teaching young musicians how to make a living from it, because it's hard. But yeah, my dad had all this equipment and I wanted to learn how to use it. And so, I talked to some people, read some books, and started getting into the world of audio engineering and production. Although it's very complex, it takes years and years to do. So respect to those who do actually do it and make a profession out of it. And yeah, I just, one day I remember the band was like, do you want to record our EP? And so my dad was a huge help and literally was teaching me as we went. And we recorded their initial EP that we actually re-released when we signed them to Harvest Records. We recorded the first EP all in the drummer's basement. Hands Down specifically was recorded in the drummer's basement, which is their main single and probably what you would know them more of off of than any other song. It's their main kind of, you say Hands Down and everyone's like, oh yeah, I know that. And then we recorded the rest of it in my basement. And my dad and I just like sat in the basement and mixed it for weeks. And we never thought, I mean, you never think that it's going to go this far. And so it's just so weird. I don't know. We have the Hands Down demo on Spotify and other DSPs. And that's kind of the original Hands Down with the long intro, and my dad and I mixed it, and it was hardly mastered. I don't even know if it was mastered. I don't even remember. But yeah, so that's kind of how we met. And then long story short, I met a mentor who has been in the industry for a long time, super well knowledged. His name's Laszlo Geiger, and you know him mostly as Laszlo. Yeah. He's the program director on KRBZ 96.5 The Buzz. And he was great because you rarely get people who take you under their wing. Now more so because people are more willing to mentor. And it's awesome. So I always want to pay that forward and return the favor of those who mentored me and helped me get to where I am today. And I still have a lot more to go. But he and I started co-managing the band, and I met him through literally Twitter, DMing him Hands Down. I was like in math class one day in high school, and I Twitter DM'd it to him, and I was like, please listen to this band. Oh my God. I swear, like, we're legit, like, please listen to them. And he was like, do you manage them? And at that point I was not their manager, but I was kind of like, yeah, sure. Like, sure, I manage them. I have no idea. So the ongoing joke is that I hired myself, but they kept me around, so that's good. Yeah, and he, knowing all of these labels and music industry executives, he circulated the track around Hands Down, that being to different A&Rs. And we also found out afterwards that we had a lot of labels and A&Rs messaging us through our Squarespace website. We found those way after. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. But it's crazy. I mean, it's like just meeting people and not being afraid to cold email or cold Twitter DM in this case. It helped a lot.
So back to, you said they were emailing you through the website. You're talking about other labels other than Capital were emailing you?
Other labels other than Capital, yes. So when we first started this sort of label adventure, so to speak, we had many other labels interested, luckily, and that was crazy too because it wasn't just Harvest. We had the main other two labels that were really interested were Fueled by Ramen, which is a subsidiary off of Atlantic. You know, they signed Paramore and 21 Pilots, and another that was interested was Republic Records. They have anyone from Ariana Grande to, I mean, Republic has been one of the leading labels up until a couple years ago for forever. So they, both of them collectively, Republic and Fueled by Ramen, flew us out to New York and we showcased for them. And the craziest thing was Avery and Monty Lippman are the two brothers who co-run Republic Records. They essentially started it and co-run it still. And we were showcasing for them and the rest of their label in this like random recording studio in New York. I don't even remember who it was, but Josh Groban was recording next to us. And I was like, oh, that Christian singer or whatever. Yeah, it was so weird. But Monty Lippman, I'll never forget, he pulled up a chair right in front of the stage, in front of everyone else, and watched the band perform, and it was so nerve-wracking. And I'm really glad that I didn't know who any of these people were at the time because I would have been so nervous. And now they're like my heroes, and so cool to look up to. And you see them like in Billboard issues or different music industry articles, and I'm like, yeah, I know this guy, he's cool. But barely. I mean, we didn't have a conversation or anything. Hopefully someday.
The music industry is drastically changing and for the better. The power to have a successful music career is in your hands and no longer up to a few gatekeepers. The key is having the right information, the right tools, and committing to do the work. I want to help you jumpstart your career with my free ebook called Play Music, Make More. This free ebook is everything we've done with our own group as well as what I've learned being an entertainment agent, and it's all played into the success we've had as independent artists. Visit playmusicmakemore.com to get your free copy today.
So you're 23 now, right?
I'm 23 now, yes.
Yeah. And am I correct that you're managing more than Greeting Committee right now?
I'm managing more than Greeting Committee. Yeah, so how I got to LA initially, Ethan Schiff and Will Suter, they have a company called Backbeat Management. And I met them through a friend. I was on tour. I was tour managing Greeting Committee as well. And the manager for the headlining band that we were on tour with Jukebox the Ghost at the time. I think it was 2018, spring of 2018. Mm-hmm. I had kind of seen him in passing. We were back running around while the bands were sound checking. And I was like, hey, I really need to get out of Kansas City. I love Kansas City, but I was like, I just need to learn off of people. Are you hiring? And he does like X Ambassadors and Jukebox the Ghost and so many great other artists. And he was like, I'm not, but a couple weeks later, he was like, my friend is hiring at their company. And so I actually got on some Skype meetings with Ethan and Will, who run Backbeat, and they do Betty Who, they did Coin at the time. They do this band Foreign Air, a couple of amazing songwriters, and they do more artists now. But I was hired to work with them in 2018, summer of 2018, I moved to LA. And I was doing day-to-day for Betty Who, for Coin, Foreign Air, two songwriters, Haley Collier and Peter Thomas, who have done a lot with like Pink and Betty Who and Hilary Duff, Selena Gomez. They work a lot in the pop space. And I was also doing Greeting Committee, and I don't know if I mentioned Foreign Air. So I was doing day-to-day for 5 artists, and I was also doing everything for Greeting Committee. It was a lot. It was really, really busy. And the shelf life for a day-to-day, to be honest, is, a year and a half to 2 years. It's like you learn and then you go on to other artists. It's not really a longevity job really, but it's so important to do. And so I was doing that. And then fast forward to, let's see, December of 2019, so last year, I got a call from my friend. His name is Berko Pierce, and he was like, why don't you come work for us? Berko manages AWOL Nation alongside his partner, Scott Sheldon. They've done AWOL Nation from the get-go. So from even before Sail was released, their main single that everyone's super familiar with, they started a company called Room 64, and they do AWOL Nation, they do Iron Tom, they do Hyro the Hero, this metal rapper, and this new brother-sister duo called The Haunt. And now we have the Greeting Committee. And it was interesting because I actually, we mutually parted ways at Backbeat. It was just time for me to move on to another company, and they're great and I respect them so much. And it made me learn so much about the management world and the industry world. And it was my first job in LA. I literally got a one-way ticket, moved to LA, and did the whole thing. And so it was cool. It was kind of like, okay, I need to move on to the next chapter. And it helped because I had met Berko when I was like 18, when I had first started in the industry. He's one of Laszlo's best friends. And I met him when Greeting Committee was playing Buzz Beach Ball, 96.5 The Buzz. They used to have Buzz Beach Ball, which was like the festival that everyone looked forward to every summer. Have you ever been?
No, but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
You're familiar with it. Yeah, they don't do it anymore, unfortunately, but it's so funny. My dad loves to tell this story. I actually got grounded from going to Buzz Beach Ball the year before. Played it, and I was like, I mean, you can't ground me. Like, I have to go to it now because we're playing at it. And it was so cool. We were the first band to play, I think, I want to say it was 2015. I think it was 2015. I'm getting all my years mixed up. I don't even know what day it is. But we played it because the Ting Tings had dropped out over some kind of injury or something unfortunate. And Laszlo had tweeted, if I get, 1,000 favorites or 1,000 retweets, the Greeting Committee will open Buzz Beach Ball. And I remember falling asleep and being like, this is never going to happen. And I woke up the next morning and I had the advance in my email saying, what are your guys' tech specs? Buzz Beach Ball was like 2-3 weeks away. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the craziest thing ever. We're playing a festival with Alt J. This is insane. And so I met Berko there originally, and we've met a couple of times beforehand. I actually saw Iron Tom open for Red Hot Chili Peppers last time they were there. And I remember saying to myself, I was like, I like Iron Tom, I think, better than Red Hot Chili Peppers. We need this young rock and roll band, revitalizing rock and roll and continuing it, because it's all hip hop and pop and, no shame. I'm a fan of all genres, but, I'm a rock manager. I thrive off of being a rock manager, and it's hard sometimes because you see all the festival bills, you see what's being played on the radio, and it's literally all pop and hip hop. So I don't know, I'm hoping that bands like Rage Against the Machine and Radiohead and all these sort of veteran rock bands that are coming back and playing festivals again, I'm hoping that they'll inspire beyond just Greta Van Fleet. Love or hate them, they're doing great things, and I'm hoping that they'll really continue the rock scene. So I'm happy to be working with Iron Tom and AWOL Nation as well. So I signed to Room 64 in December with Berko Pierce and Scott Sheldon, and yeah, we're all three partners. It's really cool. They have a lot of trust in me, which is awesome, because they've known me for 4 years. What you see is what you get. They know me, and they're great mentors, but we're all a team. They do a great job of, treating me not like I'm a 23-year-old, treating me like I'm just, one of them. Although they have way more experience and have accomplished so much more than I have, because they're just so talented, and they're a little bit older than I am, but that's okay. It's cool. We put age aside, and we all kind of put our heads together and tag team everything from phone calls now, because we're all at home. But yeah.
So how does a rock manager get grounded from going to Buzz Beach Ball?
I got grounded from going to Buzz Beach Ball. Well, so this was before I started in music. I was a cheerleader in high school, and I had bought tickets, and I was notorious for missing practices and games to cheer at, because I wasn't, I didn't want to be a cheerleader. I started listening to 96.5 The Buzz, and I was like, none of this matters. I'm a hippie. I shop at Whole Foods now, and I listen to alternative music. I'm cool, whatever. My hair was blue, and my coach had a fit because we had competition, and I was like, my hair is blue. Like, I don't want to dye it back. But I would just always go to these shows, and Buzz Beach Ball was just this like huge thing that I had always wanted to go to. And I missed the year that Arctic Monkeys headlined, and the 1975, and this like huge year. I couldn't go. I had to sell my tickets. And ironically, I bought tickets for the year that we played too, and I just gave them to my parents, and I was like, here, like, you can come watch us perform. And they actually watched the band side stage with me. And that was the coolest thing, because I mean, my parents were such a huge help in everything. I will always credit my parents to where I am, for sure. But yeah, that's why I got grounded. My dad loves to tell that story. I think I've heard him tell it probably.
It had to be such a cool experience or it seems like, at least from, if I was your dad, I would think it'd be cool to sit there in the basement mixing an album.
I know. Yeah, it was.
What a cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really cool. We still have the channel labels that have, Addie vocals, Austin drums, like all of the channel. And it's so funny because we, for audio nerds, we literally tracked them on a QU16 channel board. It's an Allen and Heath board that is not meant for studio recordings at all. It's really, I don't even know if it's meant for live recordings. It's such a small board. It does the job though. It's a great board. Allen and Heath, they make great boards. But I mean, now it's kind of like I've vanished from the audio engineering production world because management just very quickly superseded. But it's good to have a basic knowledge of audio engineering and production, because you're always going to be asked what your opinions are on the mixes and the masters. And, when you're seeing the band live, I mean, their sound best. So I'm definitely that person that will go up to the sound person and say, hey, you need to turn this up right now. I'm very hands-on.
So I'm picturing most sound guys are pushing 40 plus, right?
Yeah. They
Sound they probably love that.
Yeah. Sure, it's funny. And my boyfriend is an audio engineer, and he's like, people hate when you do that. And I'm like, awesome. I know, but I have to do it. This is my band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. I mean, your assertiveness is you can tell has played a massive role in where you're at so fast,
Thank you. Yeah.
You are completely comfortable talking about this, and you said this is the first thing you've done like this. It seems like you've done these for a long time.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know. I don't know if it's the Midwestern, we're from Kansas City, you know how it is. Right. I'm glad that I was raised in Kansas City, because everyone's so nice in Kansas City, and I never want to lose that. I hope that I'll always have my Midwesternness in me. My parents are the same way. It's so funny when my parents come to LA, and we get in Ubers, normally we're all kind of like, we're so used to riding in Ubers or going places, and we're never like, hey, how's it going? And like have a full on conversation with Uber drivers. And my parents like love to just talk their ear off and like get into the tea of these Uber drivers. It's so funny. Yeah.
So I think your dad mentioned this too, but you are getting now into, with the Green Committee and other groups, the music licensing side as well. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah, we have been getting into the sync licensing world. I can't say yet, but the band is in a film that is coming out hopefully this year, if not next year. It's all hard to tell with everything going on, but we had a few sync licenses and actually a cameo in the film. I'm really excited for when we get to announce it, because it's really cool. And yeah, so we've gotten into the sync world. Sync licenses for those who don't know, are, you know, getting music into TV, film, video games, commercials, etc. When you watch Super Bowl commercials, go Chiefs, by the way, you hear music in the commercials. So that's a prime example of sync licenses. And really honestly, I mean, I'm sure you've taught your those who follow you and your brother, the money in music it's very scarce right now, especially for developing artists, even the Green Committee. I mean, people look at you know, you're playing the Uptown or you're playing the Truman, they look at it from face value and they say, oh, you're making $1 million, you pocket 100% of that. And it's like, that's actually so false. And you know, we've gotten, as any artist does, we've gotten kind of the local scene in Kansas City. It's great. We've had some issues though sometimes. I mean, I think people have grown up and matured, and I understand, but you know, we've had people who have been like, why are you complaining about this or this? You know, you have a record deal with Harvest Records and you're playing these huge venues, and it's like, it's not all what you see. It's right. There's so many expenses with playing a show. For example, when you play a show, when we played Uptown Theater, for example, I mean, we have to pay to rent the venue out that night. We have to pay for security. We have to pay for catering, for sound, for a tour manager, for outside musicians who came in. You know, we feed them. We try to take care of them as much as possible. We have merch that we have to buy before people spend money on it. You know, there's so many expenses that go into it. Insurance, like it adds up. It's expensive. And so for people who look at, you know, bands who are just playing these huge venues and saying, oh, you probably walk away with 50 grand. It's like, that's very the opposite of
yeah, you're probably hoping you walk away not losing money, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and we've been lucky with that. But with the hometown shows that we've been doing, we started at the Tank Room, and then back when that was a thing, and then we moved to the Record Bar. We sold that out. Then we moved to the Truman. We sold that out. So for reference, the Tank Room, I don't remember what the capacity is. I want to say 250. It's a really small room. Have you ever been?
No.
It's like off Grand. It's next to Green Lady, now the Black Dolphin. Yeah. We played that. We sold that out, but it was a free show. And then we played Record Bar, and I think it's like 400 to 450 capacity. We sold that out. And then we played the Truman, which is about 1,300 capacity, probably a little bit closer to 1,400. We sold that out, and then we went to Uptown and we sold that out. And with that, that's probably 2,000 capacity. We sold about 2,000 tickets with it. And it's hard. It's very nerve wracking when you grow in venues. It's like growing a business. I mean, you want to very, very slowly and gradually build. You know, for reference, it's like, you know, brands that you love, they open storefronts so quickly and they lose so much money. It's like, we don't want to be that brand or that band that is playing venues to half empty rooms. We would rather sell it out and then be at a comfortable place, as comfortable as possible, to move up to the next venue capacity. So the ultimate goal is the Midland. You know, I mean, we all grew up going to shows there. It's such a legendary venue. Do you love that venue? It's so cool. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. But it's, you know, I don't think we're quite ready to play it yet. We have new music to release, and we'll see how that goes. The band is very, very much in a writing mode right now. I'm very glad that they're not on tour, unlike a lot of other bands, because there's been so many cancellations. But it'll be cool to see which venue we play next. We're constantly thinking about it.
You know, you have so much wisdom, not just for your age, but you've got wisdom in this business for people twice your age.
Thank you.
I'm guessing, I mean, you're your own person for sure, but you did grow up in a house of two pretty much full-time musicians, right?
I did, yeah.
So, I mean, how did that play into everything? I mean, just what did you learn through all that? What was that like? I mean, did you first of all say, I don't want any part of this? Or I mean,
no, that's a good question, and thank you so much. My parents, they've been playing since they were younger than when I started. So when they were like, you know, in high school, they started playing in bands and touring and my mom toured domestically, my dad toured internationally as well. We've always grown up in sort of an entertainment family. My uncle runs an entertainment business. They party plan and put on these huge parties in Vegas. And so like everyone on my dad's side is pretty much in the entertainment world. My mom obviously is so involved in it as well. I grew up going to my parents' shows and hauling gear in with my dad back when it was like huge and not these tiny condensed speakers, as you know.
Yes.
And yeah, like these huge PAs, and now it's like all on an iPad. It's so cool. And my dad would teach me, you know, how to tweak the PA, and you know, we would stand in a different corner of a room and I would check the mic, and I always thought that was so cool. I loved going with my parents to sound check and set up, and I just thought it was so cool. And then it's so funny, my sister was always like, you guys are so weird. Like and my sister is a psychologist, and she's really cool. She does a lot with kids with autism. She runs a program called GNO over at KU Med, and they help young girls in social settings with autism. It's so cool. So she's kind of ironically the black sheep of the family. And then my mom, my dad, and I are the music freaks of the family. Yeah, we have in-depth conversations all the time. I probably talk to my parents at least once a day. I miss them. They're my best friends, and we talk about music all the time. And my dad will be like, what's going on with all of the artists? And, you know, we would talk after shows on tour, and he'd say, you know, what would you fix, or what would you do? And so we're very intuitive as to, you know, catching mistakes and talking about them and talking about the rest of the industry. So I think that's really like helped me, because I'm always talking about it with people. Yeah.
So, you know, speaking of the industry,
Yeah.
what are your plans, you know, now? I mean, we don't know how long we have here. I don't personally believe this is a long-term deal.
No, I hope not.
I think things are going to be different in some aspects, but I think those of us that are using this time to learn from it and grow from it are we're going to come out of this and look back and say, well, we actually benefited from that. What are your thoughts?
I agree. And I would love to know your answer on this too. Yeah, for us right now, I mean, we're kind of having to flex a different part of our brain and how the industry works, because, you know, we're used to doing basic social media mechanisms, but you know, what we're really doing for our artist Iron Tom, for example, because they're kind of in the midst of their album cycle, and same for AWOL Nation. You know, we've been doing these scheduled live streams. We literally called it a digital tour and put out a tour poster and said, these are the times that the band is going to be live streaming. We'll be having other artists joining. We're actually in the midst of planning the next round of them now that we are set until April 30th to stay home, which is a good thing, I think. But we've been doing those, and they've been getting, you know, I mean, a good amount of views, and people are asking questions and typing comments, and people are like, this is the best part of our day. Thank you for doing this. And they're playing acoustically. And so we've been doing that a lot with Iron Tom, and the same with AWOL Nation. Aaron, who's the lead singer and really is AWOL Nation, he's had a bunch of really cool guests on. He had Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. We had Dr. Ruan, the tattoo artist. Yeah, so he's been doing those as well, not really performing so much, but he released, you know, a new version of The Best, his latest single with Alice Merton. And so we're trying not to capitalize on it, but just sort of do what we can, so to speak. Selling merch, doing merch sales. We'll be doing the same thing with Greeting Committee here in the next couple of weeks, trying to promote donating to charities as well, and we'll be doing the same. Trying to do as much as we can. But yeah, Greeting Committee, I mean, luckily, I don't want to say this is good timing. That wouldn't be of good faith for me to say, but they're not on the road, and I'm glad. Iron Tom, we had to actually cancel a huge part of their tour. They were out with a band called Bare Hands supporting, and their bus broke down the first part of the tour, so we couldn't play the first two shows, and they played like 5 or 6 shows with Bare Hands, and then the tour was canceled, and they were like, this is the most fire drill tour we've ever done. It was just so like okay, we're doing it. Wait, no, the bus broke down. Okay, now we're doing it. And the rest of the shows were canceled. So it's weird. Like when they're doing the live streams, fans are commenting, oh, we would have been seeing you in Portland tonight. And it's like weird to put that into perspective. But yeah, I would say, if you're an artist or a musician and you're in the midst of all this, I would say definitely look at resources for you to maybe get some sort of donation from these really cool organizations, Music Ally, Music Sweet Relief. Their Billboard has a whole article on all of these really cool organizations that can help musicians in need. So, if you're one of those artists that sell merch, if you can, maybe do something on Bandcamp that's like a limited edition thing for fans, maybe if you're not signed. Because you can't really play shows, doing live streams and just interacting with your fan base, doing as much as you can. But I feel like those are kind of the main things. Writing for syncs as well. I mean, we are lucky with Iron Tom. We have a publishing company who is really pushing the band. We're all really pushing the band to be writing for syncs and just for other opportunities. Yeah, but I would love your answer on this as well. How are you coping with it? What do you recommend?
Well, I think from the dawn of time, fans have wanted to connect with bands, and I think we have the opportunity now for them to do that in a greater way.
Yeah.
And you've alluded to this already, but there's a lot of bands that instantly just started slamming out content of them singing, but it wasn't. I didn't see anything that was really. I'm really connecting to you as an artist.
Yeah.
What I love, one of my favorite things that I used to love to watch was the storyteller sessions. I think it was VH1 did that.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I loved that. Yeah, it's been a while, but I loved that. Yeah.
I'd love to hear the backstory of songs and how it was written and just all the things, and even the other people involved, and so I think things like that are really good at a time like this, because then when now I get to hear about the artists, get to connect with them, and when this all lifts, I'm not going to forget them as quick as I might forget somebody that was just on playing songs.
Yeah.
I have a question on that. You said the right for sync licensing. Would you call that a specific type of writing that when you say the right for that,
Great question. Yeah, great question. In terms of that, writing for syncs, right now it's kind of not necessarily following the trends, but making notice of what the trends are and seeing how you can sort of capitalize on it. Right now, trends that you're seeing in the sync world are upbeat songs that are very like, we've got this, or, just watching TV or seeing car commercials or uplifting motivational commercials, especially now everyone's wanting distractions from things. Our publishers will literally send the band criteria of what to write for. Some examples, like X Ambassadors always does a great job of writing for syncs, these huge artists like the White Stripes or Jack White. So doing things in terms of that, looking at other examples of what has been synced, what's been successful with syncs, and sort of going off of that, keeping it original, but also, you want to take full advantage of the opportunities that you have, and you want to stay true to your artistry and your identity. But at the end of the day, you can't keep doing it unless you're also making money. So you have to kind of find the happy medium. Yeah. We have that struggle all the time. With artists, I totally get it. Authenticity. And not selling out, not doing things just for the commercialization factor, but trying to find that happy medium. Because at the beginning, you have to give a little to get some return and to gain success. Yeah.
So when the greeting committee is, getting ready to send the song, or anybody you're working with the song, do you send in the song as a whole, or do you go ahead and cut it up and send the instrumental version and all the stems and all that all at once?
Typically we just send the main audio. If they like it, we'll cut it up. Yeah, that's a great question though. Yeah. when we do have like their songs that are already recorded and released, though, that's when, yes, you want to send publishers a fully baked project. You want to send them everything so that they don't have to go back and say, can you send the lyrics? Because you want everything in front of these people so that they're more apt to want to use your music. So for Greeting Committee, for example, if we were to send in a song for sync, we would say, here's the main master, here's the a cappella version, here's the instrumental version, here are the lyrics. Let us know if there's anything else you need. And everything's all in one place. We use this website called Songspace. Have you ever heard of it?
I think so. I'm not using it, but yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. It keeps everything.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool. We used it a lot for when I worked with songwriters, just because there's so many demos and you want to keep track of co-writers when it was written, because then you're going to have to negotiate splits as well.
And then are you doing all the keyword work as well and getting that all done as, or the metadata? I'm sorry.
Oh, the metadata for publishing or for when you're releasing a song?
For publishing.
For publishing, yeah. So we, for all of our artists, when they're signed to a label, luckily we have an immense amount of help with that. But yeah, I mean, just making sure everything's registered into PROs, whether it's BMI or ASCAP, which you would have done when you released it. But when it is a sync, you want to release it as a separate sort of project as well. But yeah, we're handling that alongside the label. For example, Iron Tom just got a song synced into Duncanville, which is Amy Poehler's new animated series on Fox.
Okay.
It's really cool. The intro song is actually an Iron Tom. It's an instrumental. It's called I'm Better, and we sort of had to re-register onto PROs to make sure that we were still collecting all the royalties from it.
And you had to do that for what reason?
Just to make sure that all the metadata was in place.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
So that it's like being tracked and yeah.
And so is there a ratio of what they're looking for instrumental versus stuff with vocals now, or do you know that?
It's really all over the place. People are also, it's interesting, I'm sure you've seen in different films or TV shows, recording covers of songs. That's very, very popular right now too. I forget, I was watching a movie yesterday, and there was a cover of like a very well-known classic rock song. And people love, if you hear a band that is a little bit more relevant today, or most millennials unfortunately don't know who the Eagles are, or Steve Miller Band. Let's say you wanted to record a cover of The Joker or something like that, and you submit it to sync licensing or to different companies. People want to appeal to the masses more so now, because viewers and listeners are so much younger, so you kind of have to evolve with the times, and a lot of publishers are actually syncing in covers of songs because they're like, oh, like, The Weeknd is doing a cover of Hotel California by the Eagles. People will connect with this more because they know The Weeknd. If he would ever cover that song, that would be really cool though.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
What else could we cover? We've hit a lot here.
I don't know. What are you doing to stay busy during all of have you been reading any good books or watching any cool movies, listening to any good music right now during all of this?
For me, I've actually spent a lot of time doing these podcasts, and then it takes a while to edit them.
I bet. That's awesome.
So, and I mean, I don't cut them up, but I still have to go in and do the intros and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time playing those guitars behind me.
Cool.
That's
awesome.
fun. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. Cool.
And then, it's actually really nice here the last few days. So, we're getting out and riding bikes, and
that's nice.
Just trying to keep 10 foot away from the person.
I know. Yeah. We've been trying to get outside and walk, and they closed the hiking trails, understandably. But yeah, it's hard, but it could be way worse. Other countries have it way worse than us. And so I don't know. I mean, I feel like right now I'm trying to just read everything that's going on with how much the economy is just really in turmoil right now, unfortunately. And people people are being laid off, and especially in the music world, which is what I obviously pay the most attention to, but I think it's so important to pay attention to every industry. When you're in such a popular culture industry like music, it's something that I have to pay attention to politics and the environment and just basic issues that are happening right now, because in an industry that's really, really based around live entertainment, it can be impacted at any time, especially right now. So it's important, to be following it as much as possible, getting whatever I can for my artists and making other opportunities for them as well as I can. But it's tough for everyone out there, no matter what industry it is. Yeah.
Peyton, I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
You've probably given more valuable information than you even realize here.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like if I interviewed you again in 6 months, we would, if the same thing had happened, it would be completely different. And, so I think we should think about that, doing it again. And
I would love that. Yeah.
And I would just love to hear, your progression. So
absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I would love to do that. And thank you so much. This is so cool.
Sounds good. Thanks, Peyton.
Oh, thank you so much. Bye, Chad.
Thank you for listening to the Dream Big series with Peyton Marek. Please support Peyton by connecting with her on LinkedIn and also following the Greeting Committee and Maybird on their band websites and Facebook links as well. Thank you again for listening to the Dream Big series.